Pebble?
Yes.
Pebble?
Pebbles had to fire up on it.
Okay.
No, I think it's cute. I wouldn't make it.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is Friday, December 21st, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Okay. Do you have any minutes and reports? None? Commissioner committee liaison reports, upcoming meetings.
I don't have anything.
We're all going to lunch with the sheriff.
We are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did we
Yeah.
post that?
Everyone's gonna see how well
Oh.
that outfit is.
I think it's lobster tails and
Yeah.
filet mignon.
Flat meat, whatever, $1.18 a person's gonna cost, so.
Oh, I might skip that then. You got anything?
Well, you're having the meals from the jail, right?
I have no idea what he's serving.
Serving meals from the jail?
Oh, yeah.
All right. $1.18 by.
You got anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Run with it.
Before we go, we are going to call Gregory Block up here. Gregory, it says.
Gregory.
We gave out the years of service at the
Don't fall.
Christmas party. And anyway, you have been with us for 40 years.
Mhm.
You started at 10? Well,
Yeah.
Let's move over here.
okay, come on over here. So we want to present this to you and, stay with us for another 20 years. Well, you're gonna do it, Larry. Oh, well.
Hey, look this way, let's get a picture, it'll get better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry we missed you on
Thank you.
Saturday.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
Were you working today or we bring you in just for this?
Yes, just for this.
They make hover rounds now that do 50
for
miles an
coming.
hour, so we're gonna.
You don't have to stay here and watch this. I mean, we're not trying to punish you. Yeah.
I might want to.
Well, no, you might want to for about 5 minutes and you'll be like, no.
Okay, we got
See
any-
you, Greg. Merry
Any
Christmas.
commission comments? No. Any unfinished business?
I do have a couple of budget issues.
No.
We can wait till the end if
Okay.
you would like.
Okay,
Some cleanup issues from another day.
okay. New business, accounts payable review.
Oh, yeah.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable the last one of the year.
Last ones of the year. Yep. Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, pretrial committee commission report. Gary Kempker. We have a book.
You have a book, you do. Good morning.
Good morning.
I thought I'd read the report verbatim and then we go from there. Today really marks the culmination of almost a year's work by various agencies and individuals. This jurisdiction, like many across the country, have been evaluating their criminal justice practices to make sure that they are doing their best to achieve public safety while using the resources available in the best possible way. Pretrial services, which has been here in Cole County actually since 2013, has I think saved the county a lot of money and has been a very valuable asset to the judges and to the community. But it refers to that amount of time between the initial arrest and taking someone into custody and right up to the point of where the charges are dismissed, they go to trial, or whatever happens in the adjudication process. So at the onset, it involves collecting information and doing assessments to provide information to the judges so they can make a number of different decisions, one of which whether the individual, the defendant, is a good candidate for release from custody on what kind of bond and what conditions and so forth. So that's really what pretrial services does. Last February, Judge Joyce convened a group of individuals to really look at the pretrial process and to make recommendations back to the county commission and to the judges as to how the system could possibly be improved. So we did look at existing operations and practices. We looked at kind of the state-of-the-art operations throughout the country. We looked at standards, for example, by the American Bar Association and other standards that are available around the country for different aspects, and developed recommendations. On page 17 of your book there, you have a list of those that participated in this committee. So as you can see, not only was it law enforcement and the prosecutor's office, but it also included drug treatment, resources, program staff, the county commission. Of course, Chris sat in for the county commission, and that's how the work was done. And I certainly want to thank them for their work. We met on the lunch hour at least twice a month, and a lot of them presented information for consideration by the group. When we started, we developed a charter, which is, I think, on page 15 of your report, that really outlined what the judge wanted us to do and what it wanted us not to do. And as you read that on your own time, you'll see that there's a lot of emphasis on looking at things that are best practices, that are research-driven. One of the things I've learned over the year, there are those things that look good, those things that sound good, and those things that are actually good. And so separating the things that may make us feel good from the things that actually work was really part of the work of this committee. I do want to say that the primary concern of everybody working on this committee was public safety. We made that the highest level of importance, and the members of the committee were asked to prioritize their recommendations. So as they appear in your book on page 11, they are actually prioritized. And with your permission, I'll very quickly just go through the 15 recommendations so you get a feel for what they involve, and then certainly I'll answer any questions. The first recommendation is that all pretrial detainees should be assessed by trained personnel as soon as possible after arrest. So in most situations, what we would hope would happen is those individuals that cannot be immediately released for some reason, that someone from pretrial services do an assessment, and I'll talk about assessments in a minute, on the individual to provide information to the judges on their suitability for release, and if they are released, what kind of conditions would be imposed and monitored by pretrial services. There have been some practices in the past. For example, I'm told that there was a 3-day wait and some other things. Well, the reality is we believe people should be assessed as soon as possible, and that good decisions be made as soon as possible for those individuals that would be better served in the community than incarcerated in the jail, that they be returned to the community, continue to work, continue to support their families. One of the byproducts we think maybe could occur is a reduced impact on the public defender's office if some of these offenders that can reside successfully in the community awaiting trial continue to work and continue to support their own families. So that's where that recommendation comes from. The second one was that regular meetings, and we really came down to recommending quarterly meetings of the key stakeholders of pretrial services come together. Since 2013, it's been apparent there's been some misinformation circulated, there's been some misunderstanding, and once we had all the stakeholders in a room, a lot of that could be cleared up pretty quickly. So we felt like it's important that they continue to meet regularly and to discuss cases where warranted, and to discuss practices and policies as we go along. The third recommendation is that the Ohio Risk Assessment System be implemented. And a couple of reasons for that. The assessment tool, the actuarial assessment tool that pretrial services has been using in the past is one that came out of Kentucky, and I think it's been a good tool. Pretty recently, the Missouri Department of Corrections adopted a component of the ORAS system, the Ohio Risk Assessment System, for their use. And the benefit is, number one, we like the questions and the emphasis on their assessment for pretrial services, but it would dovetail with the work that the Department of Corrections Probation Parole, for example, does. And would probably be one of the first instances where instead of when an individual is turned over to the Department of Corrections or is placed on probation, instead of just getting a judgment and sentence, would get some valuable information directly from the county at the earliest onset, and we think that could pay some big dividends for both sides down the line. The fourth recommendation is that detained individuals should receive expedited priority trial settings and appearance settings. Is revisiting the people that are in jail on a regular basis, moving their cases, is to our benefit. And it also plays into their constitutional rights. The next is that the option of 10% bail bond posted with the court should be reinstated as an option in those cases where financial bond is deemed necessary. At the conclusion of the case, the funds would be returned to the defendant, less court costs and less restitution. Of course, if there's a bond forfeiture, I think that goes to the school fund, but in those cases where they post a bond, and that at one point that was the practice here in Cole County. If you had a $2,000 bond, you could post 10% with the county, and at the end of your case, you either got your money back or they would deduct restitution, court costs, and those things. So the impact would be right now when the offender, for example, pays a bail bondsman, doesn't get any of that money back. That's lost money. It doesn't get applied to court costs, doesn't get applied to restitution. It's lost money. So a lot of the jurisdictions and a lot of justice reform is around making it so offenders don't dig themselves in a hole and get financially bound to where they can't dig themselves out. So that's where that one comes from. The least restrictive pretrial services conditions of release should be assigned to reasonably ensure the defendant's attendance in court and protect the community, witness, victims, and other persons. As I said earlier, this is pretrial, so these individuals have not been convicted of the crime of which they're accused. And the standard for whether they stay in jail or not really comes down to two issues. Are they a threat to the community? And we can analyze that, and we can look at past behavior, and we can collect information. And the other is, will they appear in court? And it's really just those two issues that it boils down to as to whether they should be kept in jail. And of course, as time goes on, those conditions and issues can be readdressed by the court as appropriate. Pretrial assessment should occur before the defendant's first appearance. A lack of pretrial assessment should not delay the defendant's first court appearance. It would be great if when a defendant appears before a judge the first time, that judge has critical information about the risk of that individual being in the community or whether they need to be held in jail. We have judges in this jurisdiction that are expert at making decisions and protecting the community. But the more information they have, the better decisions they make. And we know that actuarial assessments, along with the investigations that pretrial services can do, can really enhance their ability. It takes absolutely nothing away from the judges. The judges still have absolute discretion on those issues. It's just a matter of providing them valuable information to help them in their process. Financial conditions should be imposed only when no other conditions will ensure appearance in court. What we've seen across the country, and this was a little bit of a shock to me, is those individuals out on a financial bond appear at about the same frequency as the people that are released on their own recognizance. So requiring that financial bond, in most cases, doesn't make any difference as to whether or not they're going to appear in court. They will appear in court, except for a fairly small percentage. And that percentage is not going to appear whether they have a financial bond or not. So this standard or this recommendation basically says we should only impose that when we feel like we need to. And of course, if they don't appear, the judges can issue warrants and then require financial bonds or require incarceration as a part of their pretrial status. Number 9, pretrial services should be reserved for moderate to high-risk offenders. Low-risk offenders should not receive services or significant interventions. What that's about, and it's a little counterintuitive, you'd think, well, they're not much risk, they don't have a high risk, so let's let them out of jail and let pretrial services supervise them. Well, the first part is right, let them out of jail, but don't waste the resources of pretrial services on somebody that's probably going to be okay anyway. They're still going to appear in court regardless, and what the research tells us is the more we intervene with low-risk offenders, the worse the outcomes. So if they don't need intervention, they don't need us meddling in their business, we shouldn't do that. We should reserve those resources and that supervision to those individuals that are maybe a little higher risk and are more likely to be a community risk than those that pose no community risk. So that's where that one comes from. An MOU should be developed between the stakeholders. There is an MOU, I think, that is either being developed or is in place that meets some of the state requirements for reimbursement for pretrial services work. This recommendation is probably about being more inclusive and bringing more of the stakeholders in and making sure everybody knows what their part is in pretrial services and who's going to do what when and so forth. Probable cause statements should include factual information available to law enforcement regarding the defendant's risk not to appear or danger to the community. Police officers complete a probable cause statement as part of their application for charges. All this says is to encourage them, if they have information on those two issues, failure to appear or risk to the community, that they include that in their probable cause statement so that the judges have that and pretrial services have that information to consider at the decision points. Citations and summons should be used rather than custodial arrest whenever possible. Sheriff Wheeler and some of the local law enforcement people had a subcommittee and looked at some of the practices for low-level offenses, some of which historically have required incarceration, that you really got to scratch your head and say, why are we locking people up for this? And when they would likely appear without it. I think there are a number of crimes that if they don't have a significant criminal background, that they're agreeable to maybe bring in, fingerprint, and release so you've got the information. So that's kind of an ongoing effort. Additional diversion programs and treatment courts should be developed. One of the things we know is that treatment works. I don't care what you've heard, but in the criminal justice system, we know that treatment works. Some better than others, but some of the great successes in criminal justice in recent years have been things like drug courts and veteran courts and mental health courts and so forth. And all this standard says is, as the resources are available, we should look at those specialized courts to try to reduce recidivism and criminal activity in Cole County. Adequate resources should be made available to pretrial services to properly investigate, assess, and supervise pretrial detainees and their charge. And all that really comes back to you all as to making the budgetary decisions that are appropriate to make sure that if they're going to be supervising people out in the community, that they have the resources to do that. And then finally, that implementation teams should be appointed by the judiciary to develop timely transition plans for the smooth implementation of accepted recommendations. Some of these are kind of tough issues to switch over, quite honestly. Some are pretty easy, but some of them will take some time. And the discussion on this recommendation was more around, just because it's hard to do, don't decide not to do it. is we can deal with implementation completely separately and do it in a smooth transition as needed. So those are the recommendations. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I don't know if Judge Joyce has anything to add to that. She started this project.
I wanted to thank the committee for their hard work, and I also wanted to thank the commission for having the foresight back in 2013 to put us on this pathway. Everything that's been reported out is really based on all the science and what the practices have been. As you all know, I've been doing drug courts for 18 years. And all this stuff is what the science is saying. And I think nationally, as well as statewide, everybody's moving in this process. And I think we're at the forefront of doing it. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the commission and with what an exemplary commission. I want to thank Gary and Richard for the kind of services they provided for us. And so this is kind of an update. I know we'll be moving forward. This is going to be a continuing challenge through the years.
I don't really have any questions. I just think it's a great program, and probably the bottom line is the fiscal impact it has on probably the county as a whole, with the funding that we don't get paid back from the state. So if they're not sitting in there taking up space, we can keep the federal prisoners in there. So I really appreciate y'all doing that. I know Chris has been a lot more involved on the committee and stuff. So it's not the perfect system yet, but.
The one thing I would add, this effort was not about necessarily reducing jail population. It's a matter of keeping the right people in jail and the right people in the community, and using your very expensive resources to the community's advantage in achieving public safety. That's the bottom line.
Well, when we were at MAC, I think with Richard was there, I think we're kind of the leaders, really. The majority of the commissioners and people that sat in on this, they're not anywhere near what we're doing. So I like being a leader and innovative.
Well, one of the ABA standards was that every jurisdiction should have a pretrial services section, and a lot of jurisdictions are struggling with that. You've had one here in Cole County since 2013.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
But kind of the reason that we have that is because we appropriated resources to do that, knowing that we could gain income by backfilling our population of prisoners with federal prisoners and getting some of those resources. But obviously it started small, but how many people do we have out today?
Right at 100.
100 people. So, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
So
Now, there's people that could be sitting in there too. I mean, you look at the public defenders overloaded, and you're supposed to have a speedy trial and everything, but it just doesn't happen. So if somebody just doesn't have the mechanism to get out on bonding or whatever, I mean, this is an opportunity for them to still be, contributing to society and not a threat to society. So.
Well, I think this makes a little bit of a shift in that it does focus on those two issues, not on whether you're rich or poor. It's on whether or not you're a threat to the community and whether or not you're going to appear in court. It shouldn't be an issue of, well, I'm poor, so I have to sit in jail. And I think this certainly makes some headways in focusing on the two issues that are really important.
Well, one of the best things that I think comes out of this is obviously once people get into the system and they kind of get down on their luck, they continue that cycle. That recidivism is just more prominent, and so obviously you messed up, you did something you shouldn't have, but you shouldn't have to lose your job and be a burden to your family and do so many things that just puts you down in a hole that you can't dig out of, and then you're just a repeat criminal. So I think it really helps people, and so that's what I really enjoy out of it. So appreciate all your work.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you
very much.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting us.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Donnie. Merry Christmas. See you guys.
Okay, Chief Deputy Public Administrator position discussion.
Go get 'em, Tiger.
Allison.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning. Okay, fire away.
Well, I don't have anything far away on. I thought we were gonna have some information that we were gonna, what was the request?
My request is to have a deputy so that I can have someone to attend the local or statewide people that I have to represent. I'm behind on seeing my people required annually.
Okay, so we don't have a deputy. I thought you had a deputy. How many employees you got?
Right now, 2 full-time people.
So why is one of them not a deputy then?
I thought there was more in the budget than 2.
I had 2 part-time people, and I got them to come back to help out through the holidays so I can get caught up before January 8th. My next
We're not
court-
adding a person, you're just wanting
So
to make
there's-
one a deputy to be able to do
Mhm.
the things you're supposed to do.
And she
You're
can sign,
not involved.
they can sign papers.
Okay.
They,
I
they,
guess-
they can go on my behalf, but they have no authority to do
You want some
anything.
medicine?
I'm coughing too.
Give 'em here. Right now, there's 3 full-time positions in Joe's budget. He had someone that just left. And are you wanting to move someone up into, like, that
Yes.
pay, or you're wanting additional pay? I think we're just trying to understand kind of what your proposal is.
What the previous person was making, that wasn't a deputy, she was a administrative assistant 2. What I want him to be is a deputy public administrator.
Okay, and what's the salary that you want to pay for that deputy?
For whatever deputy gets paid in Cole County.
Well, so Joe, we proposed a plan that there's multiple steps to a deputy. So like there's a deputy 1, a lead deputy, and a chief deputy. So it's kind of where you think that person needs to fall on,
A deputy 2,
okay?
not a chief.
So a deputy 2 on the scale falls at 34. It's the starting salary for,
35 would be preferred.
So what kind of education, experience, what have you, does this person have in doing public administrator stuff? Any?
She has been with, the person has been with the office for about 1.5 years now. And she's covered me when I'm on the road. She's dealing with property issues right now that I have, like cars that I'm trying to get rid of, trailers I'm trying to get rid of, houses I'm trying to get rid of. She's taken it on. They have done the job.
sorry.
And so she's doing that job currently, and what's she making currently?
Is it 26.5 or
And I misspoke, the deputy 2 position is 32, the lead deputy would be 36.
Is that on the step pay charts
Yeah.
thing? Okay, so I'm trying to open up here and see where that's at. So,
Currently 26.7.
but basically we're wanting to set it up to where what positions he has, and then filling them would be the other question, I guess. Right, is that what you're getting at, is if this person's qualified for that position, or, because I would think you would need a deputy
So,
to fill in
Debbie,
for.
what was the salary of the person that left?
35,291.
then just cover it with that salary. And
Is
then
that
I can back,
adjusted? Or that's the one that left?
That's the one that went.
That's the one that left. So he did have some wiggle room in the budget number that he had because the person that left was at 35.
so then I could also backfill the vacant one at 26.5.
I mean,
Well, so what we're trying to get away from is that we don't just bring people in on what we have in the budget. We bring people in on what their duties are, and we've established a new scale going forward. what are their duties and what do those duties require in pay? So it's not just, I have 35,291 because that person left. It's what are the duties and what does that duties get paid?
If I'm not in the office, which I'm not very often because I gotta travel to see my people, they don't come into my office.
Right?
So that they can do the function of my office if I'm not there. Because if I gotta travel 4 hours one direction to see 2 people, they don't have to call me 3 times and I gotta pull off the side of the road.
So it would fall under chief deputy.
Deputy two.
So is she
Chief
gonna
deputy
be,
too?
this is the statute.
Why wouldn't it be chief deputy?
Talking about, and they can,
Okay, hold on, he's gone.
perform such ministerial and non-discretionary duties as may be delegated to him or her by the public administrator, including assembling, taking into possession, listing monies, checks, notes, stocks, bonds, other securities, depositing all monies, signing and countersigning any and all checks and other instruments for the payment of monies. So the person you're talking about is going to
Be able to do that.
be able to do all this.
She's already doing it. I have to go.
Safe deposit box.
Yes.
All right, so then we still have 2 things we're looking at here. Are we gonna, what positions, and then if you're talking about the person filling it is a separate issue.
So the question with Joe's department and the reason, I think Marilyn had a stance that her people were not deputies, they were administrative assistants. So when we looked at salaries, we went based on what their current title was. It wasn't in his deputy thing. So he's asking for a deputy, so we need to figure out where that deputy falls in the scale then.
Why wouldn't he have a chief deputy?
I'm not saying he shouldn't.
Okay, so you'd have a chief deputy.
The chief deputy would be a substantial raise from where the last person was.
I know, but
42 is the starting for chief.
I'm saying all officers in general, why wouldn't they have a chief deputy? So. But is that what you're wanting as a chief deputy, or what are we asking for here? Deputy 2?
I would love to have a chief deputy.
Senior deputy, Kleenex thrower, what did we have again?
Is this person qualified to be a chief deputy?
No, that's a different discussion. Totally different discussion about the person filling the position.
She
Because
is.
if we're gonna put a position, a chief deputy position in there, that's what we gotta figure out, right? Because Maryland did not have them, for whatever reason, she chose not to.
Right.
I think
I
And
don't
actually,
know.
Joe can choose not to as well, I guess. If you don't wanna have chief deputy, then you can have all admin assistants.
But what my predecessor didn't have is I've got more, they're younger, they're substance abusers, they have more behavioral issues, and, you know, they just,
Thank you.
they just get difficult to place and they disrupt all the time, so. I mean, I can handle the phone calls overnight, I can handle the weekend calls, and I can handle the travel long distances. I need somebody to take care of the area in this place, Cole County, because most of my people aren't in Cole County. Only reason they're not in because of their diagnosis and their behaviors. So I gotta search for where you can put them.
So, what are you asking for? Chief deputy only, or we got 3 positions, well, 2, yeah, 3. Or we got 2 that are current, one's not filled?
One's currently not filled.
Okay, that's the deputy 2 on the current list.
Yes.
Is there part-time funds in there too, or,
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've been using those recently.
so we got part-time employees on the books right now?
Yes, he has 3.
3.
3.
So are you gonna eliminate them?
I'll try to. I mean, I gotta account for people getting sick and things. If I've got stuff scheduled, I have to be there.
I guess I don't know what we're exactly trying to do here.
I'm trying to add a person that can take and go to the local ones in Cole County to be able to sign as a officer of the office.
Okay, so you want to add a chief deputy? You
Yeah.
want to add a position, or you want to change a position?
I want to add a chief deputy and then fill the vacant full-time position.
He's
Okay, I'm
basically
still no on adding a position.
Okay, he's
But
not
if we're wanting
really, he's not really adding a position. He's gonna have 3 when he's done. He has 3 now. He wants to move one up, but he wants to call that the lead position, lead deputy, deputy 2, or whatever. He wants a name for that one.
Okay, can we get this on paper somehow, because I'm going in circles right now, because I hear add a position, don't add a position, change a position. And I'm
No,
in a
He
great
wants to
mood.
change the title of a position.
Joe said he wants to add a position.
no, what I'm saying is, I want to change the title and give the pay responsibility to that position.
So you're still gonna have 3 full-time,
Yes,
okay. And then you're going to try to eliminate the part-time.
yes.
But if we change that other deputy 2, and you're gonna add responsibilities to him, then we need to eliminate some part-time.
They should be
Not
gone
try, we need to.
after the holidays.
If you were to have a lead deputy, then what do you consider the other 2 positions? Being the same, being an administrative assistant 2? How do you see that position falling?
They would
Those
still stay where they're at.
two. And they
They'd
are
stay as a admin assistant and a senior admin assistant,
Senior, yes.
and then a chief
No, this.
deputy, or what did you
No,
said? You said lead deputies are different,
No,
There
the,
isn't.
so that's what we need to figure out, which one do you think it qualifies under?
the admin 2 one was making, what, 35?
26, 27, with the
26,
adjustments, it was
I
28,
think
27.
the scale right now was an admin 1 was 20, a starting salary of 24, and admin 2 is a starting salary of 26. So there's some difference between the 2.
That's
Does
starting.
one have more
Starting.
responsibility than the other?
On the one that I'm trying to get
The
it.
admin positions, does one have more responsibility than the other?
No.
So what do those positions need to be? Admin 1 or admin 2?
I would think admin assistant 1, both of them, if there's no difference between the 2 of them.
I
Or-
had 1 as a 1 and 1 as a 2, because one of them was entering the bills and time sheets, but.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I mean, I get that you need somebody to assist in the office. And, I don't know that statute says that it has to be a chief, or I mean, it could be a lead, it could be a deputy 2, it could be really anybody that you assign to those duties. That's how I read it. Obviously, if there's someone in the office doing that work now, I mean, I don't have an issue with giving her a bump, but she's making 26.5 now, to take her to 36, I think that's a little substantial. But
So when would I have time to interview for somebody? I don't have any time.
well, why don't you give her 20,000 then, Joe? I mean, if you had it, so you're just gonna give somebody a $10,000 raise because they're doing a good job? I mean, I got lots of people that are doing a great job, but I don't have $10,000 to just give them a raise. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't need somebody, but it sounds like you have somebody there, and I'm okay with rewarding them with a certain amount of salary.
Then just say what you think.
But are you saying award them with it, or are you gonna call them a lead, a chief deputy,
Well,
or deputy 2? It goes 32, 36, 42,000, I think. And I mean, I'm not even looking at the money, I'm looking at what job they're gonna have to do. If he's got them performing these responsibilities, we've got this chart saying that. Why can't he have a chief deputy if they're gonna be performing those duties and responsible for, if he's not there, signing off on stuff that Sam read off, so.
Well, if I
This is
could,
delegation of duties, and it says, public administrator in any county, the first classification, may delegate to any deputy appointed by the public administrator any of the duties of the public administrator enumerated in section. So, I mean, you can have a deputy, whether it's a chief deputy, whether it's whatever other deputy, you can have a deputy who can do what you want, I guess.
if I could just say maybe that we could do a deputy 2, which is 32,000 a year. We could do a senior admin assistant, 28,000 a year, and administrative assistant 1, which is 26. There's levels there. If he could go back and do a job description of what he thinks each one of these do, and then you can determine from that job description whether they should be a lead deputy, a chief deputy, but just to get the year started, 32, and even if he wants to bring that girl up to that, I mean, that's the organization chart of it all. So to me, you have to have a difference between your senior admin assistant and your administrative assistant, duty-wise.
Duty-wise, right now, the senior admin assistant can't make the decisions I'm doing.
Well, no, can't make those decisions, but if they do payroll and they enter payroll, or are you having your chief do that? I don't know.
They're doing it because
Yeah.
I'm normally not here to approve it.
Yeah. Well, if you don't want any levels between the two of those, then we call them both administrative assistants. Because you can't have 2 seniors.
But administrative assistants can't sign in my behalf to go.
Neither one of
Not
them
talking
can.
about that, Joe.
She's just talking about the difference between those two. Are they on the same
So you
level,
gotta,
or is one?
I mean, you're,
We'll have a deputy. We'll have a deputy 2, and then the other 2 underneath, are they the same duties?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, then we call them 2 administrative assistants.
but so you have one that you're wanting to move up to a lead or a deputy 2 or whatever we're gonna call it. You gotta hire one, cause you're down one. You only have 2 people,
Yes,
right? So one's moving up to a deputy, you're gonna have an opening.
yes.
So,
That's gonna be.
so
a-
how do you wanna hire that person in?
As a
starting? Okay.
So it's, to me, it's just a difference then of whether this top one is a deputy 2, a chief, or a lead. And I wouldn't feel comfortable putting them in either one of those higher ones until you have job descriptions on what the duties are. Right now, deputy 2 makes sense.
I mean, if I were you, obviously, if you have an admin 1 that doesn't have that many duties to do, I would want an admin 2 or a senior admin to be able to hire, and I would give them more duties. I mean, why, if you're that busy, Joe, why are you not delegating more to these other people?
How, we're busy. How can I give them
Well, yeah,
more?
you're busy because you're down a person.
That's really, you're missing the point, Chris.
What-
I have
What?
people all over the state,
I get that.
okay? So this is the reason why I'm behind. I can't get to them all of the time. And I'm only legally required to see them annually.
So is
But
your,
when
is
you
your
got them
deputy?
in Portageville, you got them in Nevada, you got them in Trenton, Chillicothe, Hannibal, Kirksville, Springfield. I've got them all over.
Right?
That's a long distance, and maybe there's just one person. So you drive one day, that's it, for one person.
Why don't you spend the night out? I mean,
What? For one person in
Well,
Springfield to
no,
go to Nevada?
to make a loop.
But I can't make a loop
Why?
because I'm dependent on the state individuals that have to go and attend it to.
Okay, I'm not gonna tell you how to do your job, but I mean, obviously, how's your deputy or deputy 2 or whatever, how are they gonna be able to get out and go see these people?
Well, I do have a lot of them in Cole County, just right
Okay.
in this area.
So, I
They
mean-
can take that responsibility.
But I
So
mean-
then I can go to St. Louis and see one person. I can go to Kansas City, which I'm trying to move, but nobody wants him. I try to move him closer, but there is no bed space.
I mean, I'm just saying, I think it's, if it was me, I'd go see the southeast part of the state and try to hit as many people as I could. I mean, if I'm gotta go there, I might as well see 3 or 4 people that are down there, so.
If
I mean-
I'm that far, I don't want him down there, first of all.
Well, I get that, but I mean, you're going down there to see somebody.
That's
I mean,
5 hours one way and 5 hours back.
I get that. That's why I wouldn't drive to see
Well,
one
then-
person. I mean, I drive and you gotta have 10 or 20 people in a certain area, try to get down there and make the most of it, but. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you deadhead one way, just for one
So what
person and then
happens if
deadhead back.
something happens overnight and they call me and I don't have anybody that can make a decision locally and I'm on the road, in a hotel? I've spent my entire life in hotels traveling. So, look, I'm asking for a reasonable solution to my request.
I just wanna see the chart, what you're actually wanting, if it's a chief deputy, 2 administrative assistants, eliminate the part-time. That's just where I wanna see, and I thought we were supposed to have that coming in today. I thought you were gonna ask him for that, or else I would've emailed him.
At this point, I need the part-time to get me through the end of the month.
You have,
I still have funds.
part-time?
Well, for the
Well, we're
rest
done
of
for the year.
18, for the rest of 18, but if, and I don't care if you have the part-timers till you get a full-timer hired on. I really don't. But I wanna see what we have here, cause we've talked about 7 different scenarios. Debbie said lead deputy,
Deputy 2,
deputy 2.
2 administrative
Um,
assistants.
I don't,
I think you need a deputy. We're just trying to figure out,
And I don't really think you can do that unless you have job descriptions of what
Yeah.
they do. So
can't
that's
have
why
a chief deputy without, so get a job description, have job description. Everybody else has a chief deputy, why wouldn't Joe get one? I don't understand how anything would change there. We got a chief deputy, you always get picked on up here. We got a chief deputy, and your chief deputy is actually gonna have employees that they're gonna be over top of, so wasn't a bad thing, it was just making a point. So there's
She can
there's
still
differences. I know she's nice, she hasn't thrown anything at me yet,
here,
so.
you
So,
wanna use it?
But that's what I'm saying, is if you want it, you gotta look at the job descriptions, cause that's gonna be a huge move, and you're gonna have to find somebody that can fill that position and be trusted with those decisions and stuff, so. I'm not saying you make the position and then you just put somebody in it,
Not.
but
So you want a job description?
Maryland just didn't have the chief deputy.
She
She
didn't
just
want
didn't want
anybody
it.
to make the decisions.
Marilyn took care of it herself, okay, so however she did it, she put her cape on, she took care of stuff. So, if you're saying you need somebody to help do that, that's fine, you're gonna run it different than she did, so. But we do need the job description, and then if you wanna have the other 2, if they're gonna be the same admin assistants, then we need to eliminate the part-time. Fill it.
Okay,
Right.
a job
Well-
description is what Sam's got. That's
Well,
it.
this is just the statute.
That's what the job description is.
Well, you're gonna have to write it up, Joe. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna get a chief deputy and that pays what, 42 starting?
No, I want a deputy 2, not a chief deputy.
Okay.
And that, yeah, that's fine, I was saying that you could if
So
you
the
wanted to
starting for a
technically.
deputy 2 is 32, are you okay with that?
I was hoping for 35, but 32 would be great.
Okay.
Well, we've got the chart where we've got to stick with it. I mean, if
Yeah.
we're gonna implement it, we need to go by it.
Right.
Okay,
Otherwise, we're
Okay.
gonna be right where we were with the Archer
So
thing.
Okay.
32,
Administrative
and then
assistant.
2 just plain administrative assistants.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you
So-
guys?
I'm good.
I'm good.
As of today.
Good, as soon
were
as you
getting
fill
her
the
paid
full-time
from
position, we need to
today?
eliminate the part-time.
Yeah.
32,
Yep.
Yeah,
and I'll send it up.
Yes.
okay.
We took a long way away to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let's
well,
move.
you need a clerk, so, anyway, okay.
And then you
We-
can hire.
LEPC bylaws.
It's-
Yep,
What's that?
where'd
Still higher
Bill
than
go?
vacant admin.
Okay.
Bill, you're up.
You're up.
LEPC bylaws.
Approval sign of
There you go, leave, and then
LEPC
you get
bylaws.
We
Brought
gotta
up.
talk about the
Two real quick things.
pauper
I'll
funeral
look
things.
up. One is our.
Hey,
Bill,
just a minute.
I'm sorry, before you get started, Joe was asking about the pauper funerals. We were trying to, tell him that you guys did approve in next year's budget for that to be, how much?
1,000 apiece.
Thousand apiece.
And we would like you to keep track of who the,
Who passes away?
well,
No,
no.
that you're rotating between
yes.
the
Carriers.
funeral homes.
Well,
they
it's
all-
only 2.
Yeah, but if they know we're paying 1,000 now, there may be more.
Then we go out on bid.
Okay, well, you just rotate them. Okay.
Whoever gets their month, they take rotations
All right.
month to month.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's, hasn't been a rotation because Freeman's done them all.
Freeman's done them all this year.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Also-
He
So
did.
there's
10
no
of 'em.
rotation.
10 of them, yeah.
So that's what you, just
Yeah.
rotate them and
Yeah,
then send us.
we got a
the-
monthly schedule.
And then do you, I mean, do you liquidate their assets? And if so, I mean, do you pay the funeral home for that or?
Once they're dead, all I have is their assets to pay. I mean, I don't make any decisions further than that. And most of the time, they don't have anything anyway.
Okay.
But the ones that do, you're able to pay them for.
Pay for those services or something?
Or
Yeah.
reimburse the county for them if you,
If there's money. And the only time that you know they got money is if families start to get back involved and they kind of figure something out, so.
okay.
One of the things that was said about that is that if we do pay for the cremation services, that they don't get any, the family doesn't get the remains, so.
They get put into a plot
Right.
at the city cemetery.
Right.
with
But the
a-
family cannot have the cremains unless they wanna come and
No,
pay,
they pay.
reimburse us for it.
Reimburses, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's all a matter of the, and then making sure we can reimburse the county if you can.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
All right, Bill, you're up.
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you.
Am I done?
Yep.
First thing, is our bylaws for the LEPC. We're required to update those every 4 years. So, we did that. John is the chairman of the LEPC, Local Emergency Planning Commission.
I didn't vote for him.
So I just need to, that has to be signed by the presiding commissioner. No changes at all, been the same for many, many years. We just have to update them. So that's the first one.
So your update was no changes?
The bylaw. You got, well, somebody got to sign it. No changes.
So it's really not an update, it's, we just need a signature.
Sign it for us.
I move that we sign the LAPC bylaws.
Since John's the chairman, we have to kind of watch over it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
God, that was rough.
I've been there for about an hour and nothing happened, so.
Second thing I had on there, I'd like to request to apply for a grant. This is it's called a flow study grant to the LEPC. The last time we did that was in 2009. This flow study grant would be no cost at all to the county. There again, the Missouri Emergency Response Commission pays for this. This would actually give us a study of all the transportation in the county, highways, rail, river, any kind of chemical coming in and out of the county. Kind of gives us a good idea of what's here. So, all I need is to do for that, and send that in, it's like tomorrow.
Just a grant application?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 2 copies, so I think, for the copy. It's up to $5,000, and they pay the contractor, they come in and do it. You give us the stuff.
Do you have to write the grant application or?
That's it, right
That's
there.
it?
Yeah, he's gonna write our port application next time.
I bet not.
He's good. You're good at getting money, though.
Need 2 originals, so they're saying.
I move that we sign the 2019 flow study sub-grant application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that's it.
Okay,
Did that for John.
All right,
go
Kristen,
back.
what's up?
Kristen, yeah.
I just got a couple of quick things. One is, we did all the salary stuff for the budget the other day. Christie had two requests of changes to what I proposed that we did not have a chance to talk about. We kind of skipped over them. She had two positions that were in the budget as like a nurse one that needed to go to a 2, and then an environmental person that was at a 1 and needed to go to a 2.
Need the clerk to.
It's $2,000 difference between the 1 and the 2. It's kind of up to you guys if you wanted to change those titles or not, but we didn't really talk about those two changes. So I thought quickly if we could make a decision on those two.
We sat down and went through, you know, we were putting the positions in the correct category. Then I went back and looked at those two and realized the level of their duties, and one of the people has a master's, and I feel like both of those should be 2s instead of 1s because of the level of the duties required of the position.
I'm good.
Me too.
Sure. We're following the chart.
And then when can we let people know?
I mean, it's gonna be, I guess, official January
Yeah,
9th,
8th or
8th.
And then we'll take effect on the 13th.
I'll be sending
So-
out pay forms as soon as I can.
I'd tell them just keep praying.
Okay.
Nothing weird
Save the
happens
rain.
between now and then. Yep.
Next week.
Tell them they gotta be nice to us for about 15 more days.
Fill that
Then they
stocking.
can go back to normal.
Put one copy there.
One other issue with the salary stuff is we were going through and making sure everything's correct, and we noticed that there's a handful of people, probably 4 or 5, that their anniversary date is in January, either right before they take effect or a couple of days after. So we would like to give them another year of service in the calculation if their anniversary date with the county is January. So they will actually have fully completed the full year, so on the scale, just to get them where they should be.
Why not do July 1st?
I'm good.
I'm fine, yes.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
We
Those
said
were
this
my-
year. So January 31st now?
Huh?
January 30th,
If your
31st?
anniversary date was in January, and that's the date you took the position you're currently in.
Why stop at January? Do February too, or maybe the first quarter till the end of April.
Do you remember all your anniversaries?
March, I mean. Anniversaries?
What's-
I remember anniversaries and divorceries. I got this.
Divorceries. Probably,
Yes.
probably
Yes.
divorceries more so, huh?
That's learning things, so you gotta make
Never, never so happy.
I'm not going there. I'm gonna be nice.
Come
It's
on, why
Christmas
not?
time. I'm gonna pick on this, though. How do you decide where to stop at January? Why you stop at January?
I don't know.
Where's your hand? Put your hand.
Don't smash it. I don't care.
Here's-
Do it.
I figured he'd already smashed your side. You need to move that over
Now you're
here.
blaming you.
Yeah.
So why stop at January then?
Just because.
You're gonna pick an arbitrary date.
Well, we get paid in January, so technically by the time that raise.
We get paid every month twice, some months 3 times.
By the time the first increase is in January, it's the second check in January.
So they
So-
will have fully completed that year when you change their salary.
So if they're 1 day off, they could be 1 day off. They're gonna get
Yep.
screwed. They're screwed.
I did the whole month of January, so their check takes effect
That's still an
on the
arbitrary
13th.
date.
It's the month of January.
Let's do if they were hired February 29th or something.
I'm done. I had two,
Done
let's
that,
go.
we're fine.
Seriously, why would you just do January? Why not? Hell, go to the end of the year.
You got all day. You wanted to be out of here yesterday.
I got until
Wednesday
Sheriff's
at
luncheon.
11, so.
Bump it up, would you?
What else?
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
So we're going to the end of January.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't like you guys. I'm
I gave
taking.
you a duck.
If I got y'all anything for Christmas, I would be taking it back.
Good thing you did. Anything else?
Poor
Uh,
Kristen.
Do you want to mention something about the financial institution?
Oh, yes.
Not
So
on the
I know you
agenda.
guys canceled your meeting for next week, and we said we were done with accounts payable today. But we do get financial institution tax annually. It comes in December. We have the money, but we don't have the breakdown. And most of that money gets distributed back out. We would prefer not to book that as a payable at the end of the year.
It's a
So,
substantial amount.
Yeah, it's over 300,000 that we distribute back out. So, if we can get that breakdown today or next week, we would like to be able to distribute that money.
Could you just make a motion to the effect of accounts payable pending us getting that report or something, so you
So-
wouldn't have to come back in here for it?
And then I just need one of you to actually prove in the system when they're in there.
I'm not working next week.
Well, that's what I need a motion today maybe, that you're okay
So,
with us doing
don't
that.
call me.
Just go beep, beep.
Are you gonna be argumentative to now, Jeff?
I'll come in next week, so.
I got the FIT entered.
If we get it
Karen,
today, will you approve it to be
Yes.
distributed as soon as it's
but
entered?
she's not sure how to pull up the 820.
Okay, we'll get it done,
But
but
it's all there now.
if
But-
we get it done today.
Thank you.
So-
We can do the motion like Debbie said. How do we need to word that?
We're
It's-
good.
Approve
it's
the
in there.
distribution of the FIT tax pending.
It's in here, right?
No, it's not.
Karen's entering it right now.
She's entering it
If you're
now.
willing to stay for a little while, it will go.
Well,
with
we
the
already
regular
approved accounts payable, right? It's part of accounts payable.
I don't think we need one.
Okay, if it's gonna, yeah. If for some reason it doesn't get done, then we need to come in next week. I'll be around, schedule's flexible. I'll grab him by the sore arm, he'll
Yeah.
follow.
Other
kinda like
than
having that ring in his
Thursday
nose,
morning,
we'll
I
get
gotta
him.
be at Cap Region at 7:30.
I think we're good.
Do you get paid to mention her name all the time?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's twice this week.
Jeff's just trying to see if he can push the.
Prolong the meeting.
Needs me. Look.
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a great mood.
Anything else?
So we can stand in recess
Yes.
till January 1st?
Yes? No. Until next year.
Till next year.
Till 2019.
Probably better not do that.
Okay.
I don't want to break my shoe.
No.
I move we stand in recess till 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas.
Where's the,